Admiral Chen Wei stood at the observation deck of Lunar Command, her weathered hands clasped behind her back as she studied Earth's pale blue sphere. After 30 years in space defense, she thought she'd seen everything. She was wrong. "Admiral, you need to see this." Lieutenant Sarah Martinez's voice cracked slightly as she approached, tablet extended. Long-range sensors picked up something unusual. Chen took the tablet, her expression hardening as she processed the data. A massive fleet had just emerged from slip space at the edge of the Kuiper Belt. 73 ships, each larger than anything humanity had ever constructed. Their energy signatures were off the charts. "How long until they reach Earth?" Chen asked, already calculating scenarios in her head. "At their current velocity, 48 hours, sir." Chen nodded, her mind racing through protocols established decades ago for exactly this scenario. "Initiate silent shield. Authorization, Chen, Alpha 97. Martinez's eyes widened. "Sir, silent shield hasn't been tested outside simulations. The risk is necessary," Chen finished. "Broadcast the usual satellite chatter. Weather reports, television signals, social media traffic. Business as usual." She turned to face her lieutenant. "Aunt Sarah, get me Director Hammond at Project Lazarus. It's time to wake the sleepers." Across the solar system, the alien fleet moved with precision and confidence. On the bridge of the flagship Celestial Dominance, High Commander Voxthar studied the approaching blue planet with his 3 primary eyes, while his secondary set monitored tactical displays. "Preliminary scans complete, Commander," his science officer reported. "Their orbital infrastructure is primitive. Thousands of communication satellites, several small space stations, and significant debris fields. No detected weapon platforms or defense systems." Voxthar's facial tentacles curled in amusement. Another species that prioritized entertainment over security. "Typical." He gestured to the communications officer. "Send the standard greeting. Inform them that the Hexen Collective claims this system and that surrender is their only option." As the message was transmitted, Chen Wei was already deep within Lunar Command's secure bunker. The room she entered hadn't seen use in 15 years, its surfaces covered in dust except for the maintenance paths used by autonomous cleaning drones. "Project Lazarus status?" she asked the room's sole occupant, a gray-haired man hunched over a holographic console. Director Hammond didn't look up from his work. "The sleepers are responding to activation signals. All 643 platforms show green. Though I still think this is premature, Admiral. We've only completed testing on 80% of the network. The Hexen Collective doesn't care about our testing schedule, John." Chen moved to stand beside him, watching as status indicators flickered across the display. "Their reputation precedes them. 17 systems conquered in the past decade. No survivors. They've never encountered anything like Lazarus," Hammond replied, finally looking up. His eyes gleamed with pride and worry in equal measure. "But you understand what activation means. Once we reveal ourselves, there's no going back. Every spacefaring race will know what we've done." Chen's expression remained resolute. "Better they know us as the species that turned their garbage into weapons than the species that ceased to exist." She pressed her palm against the primary authentication scanner. "Execute full activation sequence." Throughout Earth's orbit, seemingly derelict satellites and abandoned space stations began to stir. Microscopic changes rippled through their structures as dormant systems awakened. To any observer, they still appeared to be space junk, their movements matching decades-old orbital patterns. But beneath their weathered surfaces, weapons of unimaginable power were coming online. The Hexen fleet's initial scans missed these subtle changes entirely. Their sensors, calibrated to detect conventional weapon signatures, found nothing unusual about Earth's cluttered orbit. When the humans failed to respond to their surrender demand, High Commander Voxthar ordered the fleet to advance. "These primitives don't even recognize the honor we do them by offering terms," he declared to his bridge crew. "Prepare the primary weapon. We'll demonstrate our power by removing their largest ocean. The survivors will be more amenable to reason. In Lunar Command, Chen watched the alien fleet's approach on a tactical display. Time to optimal firing range. 17 minutes, Martins reported. The fleet is maintaining formation. Their weapons are powered but not charged. They're confident, Hammond observed. They think we're helpless. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Humanity's greatest advantage has always been our ability to think differently. While other species built obvious defenses, we turned our orbital waste into the galaxy's largest hidden arsenal. She straightened her uniform. Initiate Operation Chimera. Let's show them why you should never judge a civilization by its debris field. The next 17 minutes passed in tense silence. When the Hexan fleet reached their predetermined firing position, High Commander Voxthar gave the order to charge weapons. None of his sensor operators noticed as hundreds of pieces of space debris began minute course corrections, taking up firing positions of their own. The trap was set. Humanity's first interstellar war was about to begin, and the enemy had no idea they'd already lost. The Hexan fleet's first volley never reached Earth's atmosphere. As their energy weapons discharged, 12 seemingly defunct communications satellites suddenly shifted their orbits with impossible precision. Their weathered surfaces rippled like quicksilver, revealing pristine energy absorption erased beneath decades of cosmetic damage. Impossible. Voxthar's facial tentacles writhed in agitation as he watched the beams dissipate harmlessly. Science officer, explain. Before his subordinate could respond, alarms blared across the celestial dominance's bridge. Throughout Earth's orbit, the debris field was coming alive. Abandoned spacecraft transformed into weapon platforms. Fragments of old rockets revealed sophisticated targeting systems. Even clouds of microdebris coalesced into defensive screens. In Lunar Command, Director Hammond's fingers danced across his console. All Lazarus platforms responding at optimal levels. Energy absorption successful. Initiating Phase 2. Admiral Chen nodded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. Deploy the swarm. Deep within Earth's densest debris field, thousands of objects smaller than a human fist began to move with purpose. These were the newest addition to Project Lazarus, autonomous micro-platforms that had once been nothing more than shrapnel from old satellite collisions. High Commander, the Hexan tactical officer's voice rose in pitch. Multiple small objects approaching. Their movement patterns are coordinated. Voxthar watched in growing horror as the swarm of debris surrounded his fleet. Each piece was too small to register as a threat on their sensors, but together they'd formed an intricate, three-dimensional net. Evasive maneuvers. Get us out of this trap. But the Hexan ship's attempts to retreat were met with another surprise. The debris field behind them had also come alive, forming an impenetrable barrier of transformed space junk. They were boxed in by humanity's refuse-turned weaponry. Sir, Lieutenant Martinez reported in Lunar Command, the Hexan fleet is attempting to power up their slip space drives. Not today, Chen replied. She turned to Hammond. Activate the Pythia network. Throughout the solar system, seemingly random pieces of debris that had drifted far from Earth revealed their true nature. These were the furthest-ranging elements of Earth's defense system, specialized platforms designed to disrupt faster-than-light travel. On the celestial dominance, panic began to set in as slip space drives failed to engage. How? Voxthar demanded. How did they hide all this? Our surveys showed nothing but primitive technology. The answer came in the form of a transmission from Lunar Command. Admiral Chen's image appeared on their main viewport. Commander Voxthar, I am Admiral Chen Wei of Earth Defense Command. Your scans showed exactly what we wanted them to show. While other species built obvious defenses, we chose a different path. She gestured, and the transmission included a technical feed showing the true nature of Earth's orbital defense network. Project Lazarus wasn't just about creating weapons. It was about changing how we think about defense. Every piece of debris became an opportunity. Every abandoned satellite, a potential guardian. The display showed how Earth's apparent orbital clutter was actually a carefully choreographed dance of disguised weapons platforms. Even now, most of the network remained dormant, maintaining their deceptive appearances while ready to transform at a moment's notice. Your reputation preceded you, Commander, Chen continued. We knew someday someone like you would come. That's why we spent the last 50 years preparing. Not by building obvious defenses that could be targeted and destroyed, but by hiding our strength in plain sight. In Lunar Command's bunker, Hammond monitored the network status. All systems holding stable, Admiral. The swarm has achieved optimal containment formation. Chen addressed the alien commander again. You have two options, Voxthar. Immediate surrender, or we demonstrate exactly what happens when you underestimate humanity's ingenuity. Voxthar's facial tentacles had gone completely still, a sign of deep shock in his species. His mighty fleet, which had conquered 17 systems, was now trapped in a web of transformed space debris. Every piece of junk they'd dismissed as primitive waste now revealed itself as part of an intricate defense system unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Secondary Hexan vessels are powering weapons, Martins reported. Chen's expression hardened. Then they've made their choice. Director Hammond, initiate Chimera Protocol. Show them exactly what humanity's trash can do. Around the Hexan fleet, Earth's orbital debris field began its final transformation. The galaxy was about to learn a crucial lesson. Never judge a species by its orbital housekeeping. The real battle was about to begin, and humanity's hidden guardians were ready to reveal their full power. The Hexan fleet's response to Chen's ultimatum came in the form of concentrated energy beams from their secondary vessels. But Earth's transformed debris field was ready. What appeared to be fragments of an old Soviet space station suddenly aligned into a perfect defensive array, its surface morphing to reveal crystalline matrices that split the incoming fire into harmless fragments. Fascinating, isn't it? Hammond's voice carried a note of pride as he worked his console. Those crystals, grown in zero gravity using material from old solar panels. The same technology that once powered weather satellites now defends our planet. Chen watched the tactical display as hundreds of Lazarus platforms activated simultaneously. Deploy the Hydra Protocol. Across Earth's orbit, clouds of microdebris began combining into larger structures. The Hexan crews watched in horror as what they'd dismissed as useless fragments merged into sophisticated weapon platforms, their surfaces rippling like liquid metal as they took shape. Impossible. Voxthar slammed his appendage against his command chair. No species has mastered programmable matter at this scale. Sir, his science officer interrupted, analysis of the transforming debris suggests it's not just programmable matter. They're using our own energy weapons against us. The absorbed energy is being channeled through the debris field. In Lunar Command, Martin has monitored the energy readings. Hydra platforms at full power, Admiral. The Hexan's initial barrage provided more than enough energy for a counterstrike. Chen nodded grimly. Execute Pattern Omega. Target their propulsion systems first. The transformed debris field moved with artificial precision. Platforms that had once been defunct satellites unleashed concentrated beams of the Hexan's own recycled energy. The alien fleet's shields, calibrated for conventional weapons, provided little defense against their reflected power. Remarkable, Hammond murmured, watching the battle unfold. The network's efficiency exceeds our simulations. Energy absorption and redistribution at 98.2% effectiveness. But the Hexans weren't finished. Their flagship, the Celestial Dominance, deployed what appeared to be their ultimate weapon, a massive energy cannon that began drawing power from nearby stars. That's new, Chen observed calmly. Director Hammond, implement Narcissus Protocol. Throughout the debris field, thousands of tiny reflective surfaces, originally space suit visors and solar panel fragments, aligned with mathematical precision. As the Hexan superweapon fired, these surfaces created a complex network of reflective paths. By all the stars, Voxthar whispered as he watched his ship's massive energy beam being caught and redirected through the debris field, splitting and recombining in increasingly complex patterns. The humans had turned space itself into a giant optical computer, using his own weapon's energy to power it. In Lunar Command, Hammond's eyes widened at the readings. "Admiral, the energy levels, they're beyond anything we tested. The network is adapting, creating new configurations we never designed." "Let it run," Chen ordered. The system was designed to evolve. The debris field continued its transformation. Pieces that had been reflecting and channeling energy began to synchronize, creating a cascading effect that amplified the captured power. The Hexan fleet found itself at the center of a web of their own energy, redirected and focused with devastating precision. "Final warning, Commander Voxthar," Chen transmitted. "Your weapons only make us stronger. Every joule of energy you release is absorbed, redirected, and used against you. Surrender now." The alien commander stared at the tactical display, watching as his fleet's most powerful weapon was turned into a prison of light and energy. Decades of military experience told him something that his pride didn't want to accept. They were beaten, outmaneuvered by a species that had turned their own technological waste into the most sophisticated defense system the galaxy had ever seen. But pride won out. "Continue the attack," Voxthar ordered. "Full power to all weapons. They can't possibly absorb everything." Chen sighed as she received the response. "Very well. Director Hammond, show them what happens when you corner humanity. Initiate final configuration." The debris field's transformation entered its final phase. Every piece of space junk, every defunct satellite, every fragment of human space exploration history unified into a single vast weapon system. The galaxy was about to learn why you should never push humanity into a corner. The true power of Earth's hidden defense system was about to be revealed, and the Hexan fleet was about to become a cautionary tale about underestimating primitive species. Energy surge detected in Sector 7. Lieutenant Martinez's voice cut through the tense atmosphere of Lunar Command. Multiple Lazarus platforms going dark. Admiral Chen spun toward the tactical display, watching as clusters of transformed debris suddenly reverted to their inert state. Something was wrong. The defense network's unified configuration was breaking apart, creating gaps in Earth's protective shield. "Impossible," Hammond muttered, his fingers flying across his console. "The network's security protocols are being overridden. These are authenticated commands coming from..." His face went pale. "They're coming from inside Lunar Command." Chen's expression hardened. "Lock down all command systems. Full security protocol." The bunker's lights flickered and died, plunging them into darkness before emergency power kicked in. When the systems rebooted, the main screen showed a familiar face. Colonel James Harrison, Chen's second-in-command. But his features were shifting, rippling like the surface of disturbed water. "Fascinating technology." Harrison's voice distorted as his human appearance melted away, revealing the iridescent scales of a Hexan infiltrator. "Using space debris as camouflage for weapons. We had to know if humans could teach us the same trick." Chen's mind raced through implications. The recent asteroid near misses. They weren't accidents. Test runs, the infiltrator confirmed. "We needed to understand how your defense system would respond to genuine threats. Your Project Lazarus is impressive, Admiral, but now we know its weaknesses." Across Earth's orbit, more defense platforms went dark as the infiltrator's virus spread through the network. The Hexan fleet, sensing the shift in battle, began to press their advantage. "Admiral," Martinez called out, "the Celestial Dominance is charging their main weapon again. Without the full network, we can't redirect that much energy." But Chen was already moving. She pulled up a secondary console, entering commands with practiced speed. "Director Hammond, initiate Protocol 0. Hammond's eyes widened. "That's theoretical. We never tested." "Now, John." Throughout the debris field, The remaining active platforms began a new transformation. Instead of combining into larger structures, they started breaking apart. The infiltrator laughed. "Your network is destroying itself. This is humanity's last defense." Chen allowed herself a small smile. "You studied our technology, learned our protocols, but you missed something fundamental about humanity. We don't just plan for victory. We plan for failure." The debris field wasn't disintegrating. It was subdividing. Each platform split into smaller autonomous units, each carrying a fraction of the original programming. The virus, designed to attack the network's unified command structure, couldn't track the exponentially multiplying targets. "Impossible," the infiltrator whispered. "The energy requirements alone." "Did you think the solar panels were just for show?" Hammond's fingers danced across his console. "Every piece of debris in orbit has been collecting and storing solar energy for decades. We didn't just build weapons. We built a power grid disguised as space junk." The transformed debris field, now composed of millions of micro-platforms, began moving with swarm intelligence. Each piece was too small to pose a threat individually, but together they formed an ever-shifting, adaptive defense system that the virus couldn't predict or control. "Lieutenant Martinez," Chen ordered, "execute pandemic protocol." The young officer's hands flew across her console. Throughout the command center, hidden systems activated. The infiltrator's form began to ripple more violently as nanites, disguised as common dust in the facility's air filtration system, attacked its morphic technology. "You see," Chen explained as the infiltrator struggled to maintain cohesion, "we learned something from studying your shape-shifting technology. Any system sophisticated enough to maintain a perfect disguise is also vulnerable to having that disguise turned against it." The infiltrator's form collapsed entirely, revealing a writhing mass of compromised technology. Around Earth, the freed defense platforms began their own counterattack, targeting the Hexan fleet with unprecedented precision. But victory wasn't assured yet. The virus had still compromised a significant portion of the network, and the Hexan fleet's main weapon was nearly charged. The next few minutes would determine not just the fate of Earth, but humanity's place in the galactic community. As Chen watched the battle unfold, she knew they needed one more surprise, one final demonstration of humanity's capacity for innovation in the face of extinction. She turned to Hammond, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. "Director, tell me about Contingency Omega." Contingency Omega, Hammond's voice trembled slightly, was designed as a last resort. "We never thought we'd actually need it." The tactical display showed the Hexan fleet regrouping, their main weapon drawing power from nearby space. The compromised defense platforms hung dark and lifeless in orbit, creating gaps in Earth's protective shield. Time was running out. "The virus is adapting," Martins reported, attempting to reinfect the subdivided platforms. Swarm cohesion at 64% and falling. Chen's expression remained resolute. "Explain Omega, Director. Quickly." "We didn't just transform our debris into weapons," Hammond began, entering complex commands into his console. "We transformed space itself. Every piece of junk we've launched into orbit for the past 50 years has been seeding the local spacetime with programmed quantum entanglement nodes." Understanding dawned in Chen's eyes. The debris field isn't just our defense system. It's the key to unlocking quantum fields we've been building for half a century. Hammond looked up from his console. "But using it will change everything. Every spacefaring race will know what we've done to local space. They already think we're primitives who can't clean up our orbit," Chen replied. "Show them why we really left all that debris up there. Execute Contingency Omega." Throughout Earth's orbit, quantum connections that had laid dormant for decades suddenly activated. The very fabric of space began to shift as fields of artificially maintained quantum entanglement came alive. Even the compromised platforms served a purpose. Their apparent failure was part of a deeper strategy. On the celestial dominance, Voxthar watched in horror as his sensors detected massive spatial distortions. What are they doing to local space? The answer came in the form of a transmission from Lunar Command. Admiral Chen's image appeared on their screens, her composure unshaken despite the chaos around her. "Commander Voxthar, you assumed our cluttered orbit was a sign of primitive technology. The truth is, we've been preparing this battlefield since we first reached space." As she spoke, the quantum fields continued to activate. The debris field, both compromised and active platforms alike, began resonating with the altered space-time. Each piece of space junk, whether transformed into a weapon or not, served as an anchor point for the quantum network humanity had secretly constructed. "Sir," the Hexan science officer's voice cracked with panic. "The humans, they've created a localized quantum domain. Our weapons, our shields, they're operating under different physical laws within the field. The infiltrator's virus, designed to work under normal space conditions, began to break down as quantum effects rippled through the network. The compromised platforms, far from being disabled, became quantum nodes strengthening the field's effect. You infiltrated our command structure," Chen continued, "studied our technology, but you never asked the most important question. Why would a spacefaring species leave so much debris in their own orbit?" The quantum field reached its full strength, creating a bubble of altered space around Earth. Within this domain, humanity's transformed debris operated with impossible efficiency, while the Hexan fleet's advanced technology struggled against unfamiliar physics. "Now, Director Hammond," Chen ordered, "show them what human ingenuity really means." The debris field moved with renewed purpose, each piece amplified by the quantum field they had spent decades creating. The smallest fragments became quantum-entangled weapon platforms. Dead satellites transformed into reality-warping defense systems. Even the virus-infected platforms served to strengthen the quantum domain. Voxthar watched helplessly as his mighty fleet was systematically dismantled by technology, disguised as trash, operating under physics his species had never imagined possible. The infiltrator's virus, meant to be their ultimate weapon, had only served to activate the final phase of humanity's defense. "Impossible," he whispered, watching his fleet's energy weapons dissipate harmlessly within the quantum field. "How could they have hidden this?" "We hid it in plain sight," Chen's transmission continued. "Every failed satellite launch, every piece of debris we forgot to clean up, all part of a plan 50 years in the making. We turned our greatest perceived weakness into our greatest strength." The battle's outcome was now inevitable. Caught within humanity's quantum domain, the Hexan fleet's superior technology was rendered obsolete. Their weapons couldn't function properly in the altered space, while Earth's transformed debris field operated with devastating efficiency. As the last Hexan ship surrendered, Chen turned to Hammond. "Broadcast on all frequencies, all languages. Let the galaxy know. Earth is protected, not by mighty fleets or obvious defenses, but by something far more powerful, human ingenuity." The message spread across space, carried by the same communication satellites that had been part of humanity's disguise. The galaxy would soon learn that the species they had dismissed as primitives had transformed their orbital waste into something unprecedented, a defense system that could rewrite the laws of physics themselves. Earth's victory marked a new chapter in galactic history. The species that couldn't keep their orbit clean had just demonstrated why you should never judge a civilization by its debris field. As the quantum field settled into its new configuration, Admiral Chenwei looked out at Earth's transformed orbit, no longer a sign of primitive technology, but a testament to humanity's capacity for innovation, deception, and survival. The stars seemed to shine differently now, through the quantum field humanity had spent generations building. The galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again.